Welcome to this journey into the wisdom of the Tao Te Ching. This ancient text, written by the great sage Lao Tzu, holds timeless teachings that guide us toward living with peace, balance, and harmony. It teaches us how to flow with life instead of fighting against it, how to lead with kindness, and how strength can come from softness. The Tao Te Ching is not about complicated rules or strict beliefs. It's about understanding the natural way of life, letting go of unnecessary desires, and embracing simplicity. Through these stories, we will explore profound ideas that have inspired people for thousands of years. Let's open our minds and hearts as we learn from the wisdom of the Tao and discover how its gentle guidance can bring clarity, calmness, and purpose into our daily lives. In a remote valley surrounded by mountains stood the village of Huanxi. The river Yunhe flowed through it like a silver ribbon, sometimes calm and slow, sometimes wild and roaring, shaping the land and the lives of those who lived nearby. The villagers built their homes from wood and stone, and their days were marked by the rhythm of planting, harvesting, and listening to the whispers of the wind. Among the villagers, there was an old farmer named Chen. His hair was white like morning frost, and his eyes held the softness of still water. He lived in a modest house near the riverbank with his son, Wei, and a few animals that wandered freely through his garden. Though Chen's life was simple, people from far and wide respected him. He neither boasted of wealth nor complained of hardship. Children adored him because he always smiled at them without expectation. And elders trusted his words because he spoke little, but with deep understanding. Every morning, Chen would walk barefoot to the river, kneel, and cup the cool water in his hands. Sometimes he whispered prayers, but other times he only listened, as if the river itself spoke to him. "Why do you sit there so quietly?" his son once asked. Chen smiled. "The river teaches me. It flows without struggle. It doesn't ask for more or fear less. It simply moves." Wei frowned. "But how can that help us? We must work hard, plan carefully, and prepare for what's coming." Chen chuckled softly. "You will learn, little one. The river doesn't race, but it reaches the sea." The valley knew peace for many years. Then, one spring, the mountains melted faster than usual, and the river swelled like a beast awakened. The rains came for days and nights without rest, and soon the water rose over its banks. The villagers gathered, shouting and panicking. Chen's neighbors ran from their homes, trying to save tools and livestock. "Chen, what will you do? Your fields are going to be destroyed," cried old Leo, his hands shaking. Chen stood by his gate, calmly watching the river surge closer. "The river is doing what it must," he said softly. "This is madness," cried Mei, another farmer. "You can't just stand there. We must build barriers, move things, save what we can." Chen turned toward her and bowed his head. "Do what you must. I will help where I can. But the river cannot be stopped." Some villagers scoffed at him. Others shook their heads in disbelief. But Chen neither argued nor forced anyone to change their minds. He simply returned to his home, guiding his son to higher ground, feeding the animals, and ensuring that those too old or sick could be sheltered safely. When the river broke through the embankments and washed away half of Chen's fields, the neighbors lamented. "Your life is ruined," they cried. "Why don't you mourn?" Chen sat beside his son and gazed at the flowing water. "The river has taken what it wishes. The river has given." Chen only smiled, brushing his sleeves as he tilled the earth with his tools. The river brought what it brought. "Surely you are thankful," old Lu called out. Chen looked at them with calm eyes. "The river flows as it must. I only follow." The villagers began to wonder at his serenity. Others became envious of his harvest. Some whispered that he must have magic, while others argued that he simply had luck on his side. When asked by a traveler passing through, "Are you fortunate or unlucky?" Chen replied, "Perhaps fortunate, perhaps unlucky. Who can say? In the same season, Wei, Chen's only child, was playing by the river's edge. His laughter echoed over the water, teaching him to meditate by the fire or watch the clouds drift across the sky. When neighbors came to console him, Chen repeated the same words. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. Perhaps not. Who can know? As autumn ripened, news arrived from the capital. Soldiers were recruiting young men to fight in a distant war. Every able-bodied youth was required to enlist or face consequences. The villagers grew anxious. Some hid their sons. Others tried to offer bribes. Chen's neighbors visited him once more. "Your son is still weak," cried Mei. "You must find a way to keep him safe." Old Lu shook his head. "What will happen if you resist? You could lose everything." Chen sat quietly, listening without judgment. When the soldiers reached the village, they asked for volunteers. Wei, still unable to walk without support, was turned away. The soldiers left without forcing him to join. The villagers rejoiced. "You're saved!" they cheered. "The heavens have spared you!" Chen looked at their faces and said softly, "Perhaps spared, perhaps not. Who can say?" In the months that followed, the villagers began to see the changes that the flood, injury, and war had brought. Some families were separated. Others grew closer. Many who had once judged Chen now sought his advice in times of uncertainty. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned rose gold, a traveler approached Chen's home. He was a scholar from the city, carrying scrolls and a staff. "I have heard of your calmness amidst misfortune," the scholar said, bowing. "Teach me the way you live." Chen invited him to sit by the fire. For hours the scholar commands, but with presence. His home became a place where travelers rested, where children learned patience, and where neighbors found comfort in shared silence. Every season brought new challenges: storms, droughts, sickness, and loss. But the villagers now met them with acceptance rather than panic. What would Chen do? They often asked. The answer was always the same: observe, breathe, adapt, and flow. One winter's night, when the stars were sharp and the river shimmered like frost, Chen felt his time was near. He called Wei close and whispered, "My son, remember, do not fight the river, do not cling to what passes. Water carves rock not by force, but by persistence and grace. Be like water." Wei's eyes filled with tears, but Chen smiled. "I leave you this: live lightly, laugh easily, and flow with what comes. If you do, life will never defeat you." The next morning, Chen's breathing slowed, and as the first light touched the river, he passed peacefully, as though dissolving into the mist. The villagers gathered by the river to honor him. They built no grand monument, only a small stone with a simple inscription: "Flow as the river flows. Accept all things." Years later, children still played by the river, travelers still came seeking wisdom, and the village thrived in harmony with nature.